So I welcome all my brothers and sisters and lovers. If in God's name we serve, in God's name we shall perish and die. With that, we start the show. We are still waiting on Davy Mann and Joe Becker. Joe Becker is my partner in crime, but I have not heard from him at all. And it seems like they're having problem accessing Twitter at the moment. But we can begin. I have my good friend Erica Connell. Connell, is that how I say your name?
Yes, Connell.
Connell. All right. Uh, I have her with me right now, and I think two of us can start the show because it's already 3 past 3. So I would like to introduce Erica, who, let me see. Actually, Erica, I would like you to introduce yourself the proper way. So floor is all yours. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Erica Connell. I also go by the name of the Weird Violet. That is my drag persona. I am a cis female, pronouns she, they. I am a bifluid Hispanic woman, mother of 3, and proud entertainer.
Wow. Wow. And this is only our second show. So I have never actually spoken about it. I'm like as straight as it comes kind of a guy, and I'm from India, but I do not have any biases. And that's what that has been like breaking my heart lately. And this is why I started this show. And I'm so glad that Erica agreed to join us because I have so many questions. I have known Erica as an actress. She worked on one of my projects, and we grew close in certain ways. I got to know her in person, which was amazing. But I was not aware of this other side, which was like I just want to understand that journey and how it came along, and how did you navigate it. And my intention is also to go away from all the negativity that I'm seeing, and how it has become an agenda for some reason instead of how amazing it is. I saw one couple of her shows actually, and I was blown away. And there is comedy in it that I think most people don't get. So Erica, would you mind addressing those things for me, please?
Yeah, as we all hear, drag is getting a really bad rap these days, and it is just because it's been made as an agenda. It's being used to deflect from the real issues in hand. My journey into drag, I think it goes into a lot of the same argument that people have as far as in support of it. It's been something that has been embedded in American culture. I mean, I just turned 45, and it's something that has always been just normalized, and everything from cartoons to the movies I watch to my interactions as a performer. One of the first roles that I ever did was when I was in kindergarten, and I was cast as the little gingerbread boy. Yes, being a cisgendered female, it didn't matter then.
Right.
And it still doesn't matter now as somebody who evolved from being the little gingerbread boy to the big Billy Gruff into portraying roles in the Shakespearean plays, or even other roles where I got to gender bend or play outside of my assigned gender at birth. So now that it's under attack, it just kind of blows me away, because I feel like drag is just a hyper extension of performance art. It's a political art form as well. But it's just another extension of the performer. And for me, has been one of the most liberating experiences of my life, being able to perform drag, because as an artist and entertainer, and having you as my director at one point in time, you give that direction to me, the actor and performer, of what your vision is and what you're looking for. My hope is that I get to bring out some of that myself within that vision, and give you what you were looking for and needing for your voice and for your artistic piece.
Which is just amazing, right?
Yeah, and that's a wonderful collaboration. As a drag performer, it's all you. I mean, it's your idea for character. It's your idea for song. It's your idea if you want to sing live or lip sync. What gender or what animal or alien, it's your decision, your choreography, your costuming, all of it. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work that I think people don't understand that goes into drag, because you are the creator to producer, all the way step through.
Exactly.
But it's not just about presenting a gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, forms of drag are, and you have a lot of different definitions. When we start, I came out, we go back into when women were oppressed, and we still are, but we weren't allowed to be entertainment at one to males, and unless females were doing something low in sexually objectified and a role that the patriarchy deemed appropriate, even if it meant that we were just doing it in whorehouses or burlesque homes and cabarets, but under market, and used as that sexual object.
Right.
It wasn't to be as a flourishing entertainer and performer who wanted to present, and just perform and be an actor. We weren't allowed that. So drag has evolved, though, quite a bit, because it's been around in a lot of societies even before, like Shakespeare.
Of course.
And,
of course.
It's we go to the Greek, theater and the Greek choruses and things like that. So it's always been there.
But it was not how would I say it? Like, it did not have that political connotation to it. And they put such a negative spin on it to just divide us, and people not understanding that it's just entertainment and comedy with a message.
It is. And it's a lot of times too, and the people freak out over sometimes with the drag performers who have big breasts, and we're talking,
right,
baseball size bosoms to whatever, because they're going into a hyper state. This is about those stereotypes. This is about being even bigger than the stereotypes that we see out there, to kind of show the absurdity of it. Sometimes it is meant to have a political message, and sometimes it's just meant to be entertainment. And too many people are not seeing it just as it's really that simple. Mm-hmm. It's not meant to be malicious. Sometimes in a political message, you can mean to say you want your point to be heard, but we're not seeing drag artists going out and have,
but
over stuff, and I don't know. It's just the ridiculousness of it all.
But I understand people take their kids to drag shows, but other side does not. Do you depict these pictures? It just makes people more scared of it than understanding it and having a negative,
But that goes into the education and
right.
what they're trying to present. It's turned into a massive propaganda wheel when it comes to drag. And even, specifically when we start talking about Drag Time Story Hour.
Right.
Like anybody in a dress and a wig and having super big makeup on, over the top kind of characterization, be it at Disneyland or in my library reading me a children's book, is no different. And that's the experience. It's not like these queens are, parents can choose where they take their kids. Okay. Most all ages shows are presented by the show host and the showrunner saying, hey, we're doing an all ages show. So this is, of course, not the appropriate environment to do a hypersexual piece that is about human sexuality.
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
but that is discussed. That's the kind we have those conversations. The community is being, not everybody in the community has experienced horrible things like rape, sexual exploitation, even some human trafficking, but there's a large majority like that have brought them there with some kind of experience that we're being accused of.
Right.
Like the very things that we're being accused of are the things that we experience, we're victims of. There's a small percentage of drag performers out there who actually had amazing upbringings. I unfortunately cannot relate to that. That's when I see and hear about these amazing upbringings, that's me watching fantasy on Oprah's channel or Lifetime or something. That's not my existence. But I am here to tell you that the community does not tolerate that kind of behavior. If someone slips out in any kind of way, they say they have an issue with drug addiction and is impacting their relationships, or somebody moves past into it at being like a sexual assault situation where maybe they whatever their reason is, they crossed that line. And we all know that, okay, somebody did this in our community. We don't tolerate that. That's not something that gets slipped under the books. Like when it happened to me when I was a little girl and telling my family, it was like, oh, we don't talk about that kind of thing. It just got swept under the rug, and we don't talk about that, and then it's ignored. No.
But that's the whole point of this show, that we do talk about it. And
exactly.
I want, again, based on your comfort level, please go as deep as you want to and share your story to the fullest extent. The reason I say that is because, number one, I had those difficulties coming to terms and understanding. And I see other people struggling. But the thing is, nobody's talking to them. So they are just going based on their assumptions, and we have to change that. That's the whole objective. So please, back to you.
Oh, no. Like, just in general, though, I mean, the community is about, we're trying to heal. Not everybody's in that same spot. We have been, we've been brutalized in various different ways, but ways that bring us to this art form. And this art form allows us to express ourselves. And everybody has different reasons for being there. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them, people are just, I'm bored and want to try something different. There are heterosexuals who perform drag. There are, we have whatever, you name it. I mean, drag is a spectrum of individual too, but also, I mean, it has been more of a underground art form and safe space for the LGBTQ community, plus community, and has been, this kind of gets a little patriarchy too, though, controlled by gay men and gay white men. So yeah, there's still that underlying patriarchy even in drag culture, because there are still, and ironically enough, there are people who don't understand drag at all, and then there's still people who understand what they believe their concept of drag is, and that concept of drag applies to everyone. So there are a group of folks out there who still, and it's getting fewer, that don't believe that cisgendered females are doing drag. So if I present female, they think that that's not doing drag, even though it's hyper feminine. I could be called a bio queen, that kind of stuff. But I also do king, which is when I dress into the male form. But I also like doing pieces where I morph from, say, a female into a male in the one piece, and then that addresses me being, a fluid individual. It, hoping shows kind of more awareness on how easy the gender is, and how we are just, even for the most heterosexual person on the planet, you have to have those moments where you still find what is considered a more feminine moment. And to deny that we all flow kind of in this is just mind-boggling to me, when people are like, nope, it is cut and dry one way, when we know life is not black and white like that. everything is on a gray scale for the most part, or a beautiful rainbow scale, in which my community prefers,
All right.
It's beautiful. Why can't we celebrate and appreciate all of it instead of trying to control it? And a lot of it's trying to be controlled from a religious standpoint, which I find ironic, because if we're going to talk about boundaries and rules, I create boundaries for myself. I might even create rules for myself, but rules usually get broken.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have a religion, your religion tells you how you should be living. But if it's not my religion, your religion doesn't tell me how to live. So in order to force your religion on me, that doesn't apply to me. We don't get to do that, especially in American culture. We're not supposed to be forcing each other's religions down each other's throats. Like there isn't just one right religion.
Or otherwise it won't be America.
Exactly. And even though I don't celebrate religion, I appreciate it. I have love-hate relationship with lots of religions. I think there's lots of goods, and there's lots of bad. And the bad comes...
Right. And that's what's important, that people are not understanding. They are starting to talk about God as an institutionalized religion, which is not true. These are governed by powerful, greedy people most of the time, and they are not reflecting the true value of having any kind of higher power in your life. Even if you do not believe in higher power, let's say you're an atheist, but you believe in being a good person, that should be more than enough for you to be accepted and loved in this society, which is going away. It's slipping away from our hand. And I swear to God, it is just, it depresses me to the point where I cannot even function sometimes. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's where I think drag has value to me, because when I see people cheering you, when I saw your videos, losing their mind over your performance, that is the celebration of humanity to me.
Yeah.
That's where love is. That's where God is. I don't mind. Whatever unites us is what is important to me, and that's where I see the power of God.
That's why I love the queer community as well. Like there are a lot of people, they all have their different ideas, but we celebrate each other. And when it comes down to it, becoming a drag performer too, I have a drag family, and I have now my chosen family, and they don't, well, that's not true. Sometimes they judge, but it's never in a way we give throw each other shade or something, but it's never in a way that I feel like they're going to kick me out of society and put me out on the streets just because of who I am. Wow. Instead, they seek to understand each other, learn more about each other, nurture each other, and actually be there. So everybody has their various levels of talents, and everybody just brings it to the table. It's not always kumbaya, but that's like every family, but it's not in a toxic, most of the time it's not in a toxic place where you're not going to find somebody who reciprocates and enjoys and is there to celebrate you for being you and nothing more. Just full acceptance, full unconditional love. And that's not something a lot of people get with with biological family. There's so many conditions, so many conditions.
Which is very sad.
We have the families who put so much pressure on them. You have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor. If you don't do that, then you dishonor us in some way. If you have a child out of wedlock, that's more dishonor. Instead of accepting and loving the person who they're supposed to become and giving them that opportunity and nurturing it, instead of trying to manipulate each other to force us to be a certain way. I as a parent, could never imagine ever hating one of my children to the point where I'm kicking them out of my house just because of who they love. Just because of who they say they are. Like if one of them were to be trans, not a problem. Oh my God, I'm sorry that my genetics were so bad that we didn't make it right the first time. Like I would feel guilt in that as a parent if
I
I want
understand
my
that, but
child to be born in the right body, but if they're not, I'm going to love and embrace them on their journey.
because you have that experience personally, it changes a lot uh, when you don't have that point of reference. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
for me, I will be in the same place as you are, but and I'm like a lot of people sometimes even thought that I was gay, but I'm not. At the same time, I'm not anti-phobic, but at the same time, like it is just I am not completely comfortable with like that whole notion. So it becomes difficult for somebody who has no point of reference to understand, and especially if it creates an impulse in your own brain or in your mind to be able to come to terms with it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, society, I mean, I honestly, as a 45-year-old woman, and married to a man now for 20 years, and we have our 3 children together, had I been through a different kind of upbringing where having your sexual identity and being able to be more free and open about gender and sexual identity and all that, I probably would be a very, very different person right now. Like I think that the core fundamentals of me would be there, but I wouldn't have hated on myself. I wouldn't have felt shame. Like growing up, my brother was very big on calling me a dyke. I was a lesbian. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be use all of the terms you can possibly think of. I got bullied for being called a fag hag, which is now used as called a fruit fly hag. But because I got bullied so bad with it. But what was the problem with me just accepting people who they were, And that was the thing, is that for some reason, I think in my life and having some of the difficulties growing up in like domestic violence, was always in search of a safe space.
Right.
And because I never truly had that safe space, I created it for myself by presenting myself as that safe space for other people. And that's something that I take into all of my interactions, and I have for decades. And I just never really came out for myself until about, I don't know, about 9, maybe 10 years ago. And everybody kind of knew. It just assumed I was bisexual, but it was never said. And then I started understanding more about bi erasure and how we erase ourselves and our identity, because I was living in a hetero relationship. So it was easy for me to forget too, especially, being monogamous at the time. And then that, those are things, the impulse never goes away though. I mean, I was still attracted to him, but I just never cared to put the label out there, because I also saw the persecution and what my peers and my loved ones were going through. And yes, I was fighting as an ally, but I never really saw myself as a community member until about 10 years ago, and started understanding more about how easy it is to erase the culture and how easy it is to erase yourself and your true identity. And then that's become part of my healing journey as a individual, being proud about all of those aspects and not letting them shame you, because there's nothing wrong with those feelings. They're all valid. And it's understanding why you feel that way and why you might be taking those feelings and reacting from those experiences.
So when it comes to your kids, how did they receive it?
Oh, it was nothing. My children have always been around queer culture. They have aunts and uncles who are both identify as lesbian or gay. So it was nothing new for them. And younger cultures, as we know right now too, are more open-minded.
Right.
But it depends on their upbringing. But overall, they're more open-minded and accepting and tolerant, because this is what they've known. This is what we've grown up with, which shocks me with drag and it being persecuted right now the way it is, because it's always been part of my American culture. It's always been part of my upbringing, from Bugs Bunny to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Well, that
It's
I
always
think
been there.
right. They weaponize everything. They pick a group one at a time, and then they weaponize it. And they make it sound like they are trying to help the group, but end of the day, they just make everything worse for them. Whether it's gay people, even black community, then it came down to Arabic people, Middle Eastern people. Like every time it becomes an issue, I have seen time and time again that community suffers more and more, and it does not do anything to actually help them or forward their cause, and which drives me more insane because I'm like, why we keep participating in it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, every time they decide to pick a new marginalized group of individuals, like, I mean, just look at COVID, what happened with uptick in racial violence against the Asian culture.
Right.
Like, that was just because we have some conservatives calling it, and trying to weaponize it and demonize something. And we have to, that's what education is one of the most important issues on the planet, really, and America right now, with the iron of book burning, being able to limit what teachers are actually allowed to teach in school, people by their actual names, their pronouns, and referring to people with respect, like literally advising it, refer to a student with the pronouns that they ask for versus what the parent identifies them as. That's crazy. Like, it's so American. I'm like, did anybody else pay attention in history class? Because I remember being told all this stuff was very anti-American, very anti-democracy, even the fact that we have been told that, teachers are being told that they have to teach that there were good parts of slavery, there were good parts of being a Nazi. No!
So I know. Hold on, Erica. So let me introduce my co-host. Finally, Joe Becker has been able to join us and grace us with his presence. And I also have Davy Jones, uh, who I think is no, let's see. I think she is having trouble. I added her as a speaker. Yeah, you have the invite. So if you would like to accept it to be a speaker, Davy, please go ahead. Reintroduce yourself today.
Who are you asking? Joe. Okay, this is Joe.
Logging in. Yeah. Go
ahead. Yep. Okay. I am perplexed by what I just heard. It made me laugh. I'm so far conservative you can't get any further, and I am so far from Nazism, comma. I'm sorry about. I talk to my phone a lot, so I end up saying the punctuation. Sorry about that. But anyway, slavery and totalitarianism, it's just the opposite of conservatism. Conservatives get blamed for really weird stuff, like telling you that you, I can't remember what you said now, that you have to teach the good parts of slavery. That's not what anybody I ever heard said. I never heard that before. I've heard that there were people who owned slaves who were not evil to their slaves, but from the writing of the founding documents onward, these people have been trying to end slavery. And what ended up happening is white Christian American men ended slavery.
Yeah.
That you will never hear in the public schools. That you will never hear from the mainstream media.
That was the
But
main
that's what happened.
Civil War, right? That was the big Civil War.
Well, not just the war, but who voted?
Right.
Who was able to vote to end slavery? Who was able to vote for the Emancipation Proclamation?
It's the only people who were allowed to vote were white men.
Right, that's true
so
too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We cannot give white men all of the credit when they were only the ones in power.
Right, that
Let's
is
be
true
clear.
too.
Well, no. You have to. What I'm trying to tell you is that everybody wants to hang the whites for slavery when they're the ones that ended it. Here's the thing.
Right.
Here's the thing. You had slavery as a staple in every country, in every civilization, in all of history.
Till that
And
time.
Americans ended it. And
Yep.
all you want to do is blame them for starting it or for having slaves at all. When we're the only ones that we started it. They did not end slavery in Europe before America did.
Right. Hold on.
That's not true. No. Slavery ended in Europe before it did in America.
No, that's not true.
Okay, hold on.
We're not
That's
going to argue that
important.
point.
Exactly. That's not important. But let me introduce one more person.
Okay.
I have Davy Jones here with me, and what a wonderful group of people we have here today. Davy, can you, or first of all, if I'm saying your name correctly, and if you would like to introduce yourself. You're on mute, by the way.
Is Davey there?
I am. Yep. Oh, you were unmuted for a second, and you went back on mute.
Oh, there we go. Is it working?
Yes. We can hear you.
Yay! Okay, finally. I'm 30, but I feel really textually inept. Anyway, yeah. Hi, my name is Davy Jones. He/him pronouns. I am a trans man, going on 9 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by the way, so I have not spoken to either Erica or Davy for almost 10 years now, if I understand.
It's been a long time. Hey, Erica.
Hi.
It's been forever.
Yep. And this is why I created this show, so that we can bring people together who drift apart. And just want to hear so many stories and how things change. So that being said, let's not talk about slavery anymore.
Yeah.
And it distracts us from where we were trying to go in the direction with this show for this episode. Basically, last episode was already quite controversial. We got blocked, banned everywhere without giving us any reason. And my account was deleted. And you know what? It's funny because we did not even had 150 views in total, which did not make any sense to me why we were prosecuted so harshly. So they say COVID made it, but everything I stated was coming from Redacted, which is my favorite journalist show at the moment because they actually tell you the real news. That being said, Davey, me and Erica were talking about her journey and how they have vilified. And I think that's what Joe's point was too, because the same kind of vilification happened to white people. But white men, I'm not saying it's equal. It's not at all equal. The persecution, the power imbalance has been there, was there, and I am glad it is changing. But the point was how things have, like how divided things are right now. And that's what we are trying to change with a positive message to be able to talk. Believe me, I have spoken to a lot of people, a lot of Facebook friends, those who have just stopped talking to me because of my opinions. and that's what I'm trying to change. It's not. I'm just trying to make sense of stuff, So,
Mhm.
Dave, if you wouldn't mind, or Dave, sorry, I'm having a hard time, but I hope you forgive me for that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Never.
Journey.
What happened?
Uh,
Are we good?
yeah,
What's going on?
yeah. Please go ahead with your journey. Tell us your story.
So, I know with every trans person, there's always a different journey, and there's no really right or wrong. I know that a lot of young people think that they have to know like right away. You really don't. When I was younger, there were kind of clues. Like I was just kind of more into guy things and wanted to be perceived as a boy, but didn't understand really what that was. I was raised really conservative and sheltered. We just weren't, and it was also the 90s too, a very completely different time culturally, where LGBTQ, all that wasn't really in the norm. It was kind of more underground, or if you knew somebody in the LGBT community, that's all the way that you were exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I just grew up. I liked my friends who were girls in ways that necessarily girls don't look at other girls, and was told, no, that's not a thing. Like, oh, all right, just kind of accepted that. It's like, no, you're not a boy. Why do you think that? I'm like, I don't know. And it wasn't really until I went to college and started meeting trans people and realizing there was this whole world. I'm like, oh, I might be that, but I don't know. So I found myself being more gender fluid, which, for those who don't understand gender fluid, it's kind of like non-binary, but not really. It's flowing between male presentation and female presentation. So I kind of felt more that way and embraced both worlds. But it wasn't actually until I got my hair cut and started experimenting more openly. Like I would insist people call me he, they, call me Davey. And I'm like, you know what, this feels right.
But so, question there
Yeah.
is why do it is becoming very confusing actually. you know for people to understand all these different nomenclatures, like how is bisexual different from gender fluid?
So bisexual is related more to who you're attracted to. So bisexual, it's male or female people. As where gender fluid is your outward gender identity and how
Mhm.
you present yourself. If
But
that
has
makes
nothing to do with
Makes
that's
sense.
nothing to do with
Yeah.
sexuality, correct?
Yeah. So sexuality, whether you're straight, gay, bisexual, what have you, isn't necessarily affected by how you identify gender wise. So like I've almost always been pansexual, which is like bisexual. I won't get into like super technical for the sake of argument. Pansexual is just another fancy way of saying bisexual. That's not
Okay.
entirely true, but for the sake of argument. So I've always been that, but I haven't always necessarily identified as male until I figured it out. But I've always been attracted to boys, girls, neither, both, whatever. I just like people and am more attracted to someone's personality and if we get along.
It's
It
about
doesn't have
having
anything to do with what you have in your pants.
right. It's about having oh my god, that was awesome, Kurt. Though sorry spoke over you, but that was a great thing to say. So this question is to all three of you. Okay, I want you to take turn. I will call out who's gonna speak on. You will take 2 minutes to answer it. The question is very simple. Uh, without giving away how your sexual life has changed through transitioning or through the nature of current world, like it is becoming really difficult to navigate. It is becoming very, very difficult to approach somebody without being afraid that you're going to offend them, whether it's your intention or not. Like, so I will start with Joe.
All right. You asked for it.
Right.
I believe that the left loves to complicate and confuse. And they do that with just about everything. It's why our tax code is, I think, I don't remember now, 17,000 pages or whatever it is. Our laws are extremely stupid and weird and they're books instead of each. I would make a law if I was in charge that no law could be more than a single page.
Yeah.
If you can't state it plainly, so people can understand it, it's not going to pass into law. And it's the same with this. It's like puberty was always confusing, but they have complicated and confused it to the point of no return. I mean, how the hell do you figure out what's what? And if you say the wrong pronoun, you go to jail and then you get beheaded. It's amazing how they are.
Extreme, but yeah, I understand your notion.
Yes, it's the extreme exaggeration, but you're basically in trouble if you don't say the right pronoun.
Right.
And how are you supposed to know the right pronoun when they have so many? Excuse me, they have so many of them, and you can't tell just by looking at them. I mean, you could tell before if it was Mr. or Sir or Miss or Mrs. That kind of thing, him or her. Now you can't tell. You say the wrong thing, and they're screaming at you. And I've seen, excuse me, I've seen it enough times that it actually happens. These people flip out if you say the wrong thing.
And it's a great thing to address. So thank you for that. And now ask Erica for the same.
I'm going to mute myself a moment.
I personally don't have any kind of issue with it. I have listened to people misgender people since I was a child.
Right.
Not getting somebody's pronoun correct isn't anything new. And if people are truly afraid that they're going to be offensive, then I think that the safe bet, and this is the safest way to go about life, is if you're going to
Sorry, I'm back.
don't know their proper pronoun, it's okay to say just they, them, and then then ask for clarification. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's called communication and giving respect.
So you start with they, them?
We did not know that.
Just start with they, them. Start off with they, them. That
Why
is.
do you start with a plural?
That goes into it, but they, them isn't always plural. They, them is often, if you're talking directly to someone, it's you, right? So.
Okay, so who made up this rule? Who decided that was the rule?
How would she know? That's like, this is the.
I'm not. There's no rules. This is the basic.
No, you just told me a rule, and I'm supposed to follow it because to you that's giving respect. When I have never called anybody they, them in my life. I never.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, you have. On the playground, absolutely. You just don't realize that your normal to interact with people that you don't know personally is to refer to them as that person or they, them over there.
No, that person is singular. They. I never said, hey, they, come over here. That makes no sense to anybody in the planet.
Because you wouldn't say that when talking to a different person. You refer to a person when you're having.
They said.
With Kelky.
That type of thing. They said.
They, them can be used singularly, and that's not new. Not new.
How can I address them?
There, you just used it. How do I address them?
That's what I just said.
That is use of the singular. Yes.
Oh, come on, you gotta listen.
There you go.
You just talk over me. I'm talking. Okay. I said before I made that statement, I said, oh, you mean like they, oh, golly, I can't even keep up with this. I already said you say they when you're talking about them, but what about when you're talking to them? I said, how do I address them? I can't address them as they. How do you
Okay.
walk up to somebody and address them?
So she's
Well,
telling
do
me,
you address someone with he, she? Do you go, hey, she, hey, her? You don't. It's the same way. Like, why would you walk up? That's not proper usage of pronouns. It's not
okay,
really
so,
how it works.
hold on, everybody, please. Everybody, please.
Yes,
The
we have done that. We've walked up and said, hey, sir. And I've seen videos of it where somebody says, hey, sir. And the person turns around and starts to, it's almost like they're going to attack them because they now they no longer refer to themselves as sir. So
And
Because you don't know. Just
right.
as a person, people misgender in that direction all the time. Pleasantries like that are that is old language that most people don't like using, like
oh my
Or
gosh.
just say,
And so
or
you
just say,
decide
pardon me,
to,
or excuse
no,
me, and
I
get their
have to come in
attention.
here. I have to come in here. You can't just come around changing the language, changing the meanings of words, changing
Joe,
everything without a discussion. And that's what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
It's
The left
really not. But
the
okay.
left has been hijacking words and changing the meanings forever. And I've
Okay.
said this over and over
Sure.
again for decades. This isn't
Sure.
something new. It's not
Joe,
something new. Yeah, go
Joe,
ahead.
Joe,
Yeah, it's
Joe.
not new, but the left and LGBT people aren't changing the meaning of words. It's
Yes,
just
they
being
are.
used in a way that people aren't familiar. Now that non-binary peoples or people who don't like being addressed as he, him, or she, her are now using the singular form of these words. It's not changing it. It's just being more frequently used. And I think that's what's freaking people out, is it's just confusing.
And
It's
yes,
totally
no,
confusing because that's what the left likes to do. They like to complicate and confuse.
it is not a
No,
political
it's just
issue,
being
though.
more commonly used. It's more
Mm.
commonplace now, but
Okay,
it's
but we
not
have to
new.
take hold on. Everybody, I will call you out,
Go ahead, Kalki.
right? Otherwise, this becomes what we are
Yeah.
trying to get away from. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm grateful to all of you that you're actually still here because most
Yeah.
of the time this conversation would be
Well,
over.
yeah, it's not
Uh,
conducive to
Hold on.
deceive or
I
yeah.
have to tell you, can I just tell you,
Okay.
I have conversations like this with my friends and we argue and get heated, but afterwards we're still friends. So this isn't like an attack on any certain people. This is just
Thank you for saying that.
me.
Right. And we sit together and we hug it out. And
Yep.
yes, we understand. Okay, so let me put some perspective here. I think all of you are trying to say something that other is not understanding. So I will start with Joe. So what they're trying to say is it's not their fault. It's this is what is how society is changing. And as I was saying, they are kind of a victim of this whole issue too, as much as we are. But at the same time, they are not dictating it. They are just telling you how to follow it. And it blew me away that I'm supposed to say they and them, which I never knew. And that's what's crucial to understand how to sow that divide and how to show them the same kind of respect that we want for ourselves. And from Erica, for Erica and Davy, I think what Joe is showing is the frustration that is just building up because he had negative experiences. Now, lucky for us, we are all mature and we are not it affect us. But in I have seen those instances he's talking about, not just in videos, actually in real life too, where it just went from 0 to 100 miles per hour without any warning. And for us, those who are trying to understand how to just love each other and be able to respectful. Now I understand there's politics and changes that we do not agree with, but at the same time we have to find common grounds where we can come together and actually be America again.
Sure.
Is that's my point.
So I have that in regards to the use of titles, because sir is something that's more of a title,
Right.
and we put it as surnames and things like that, and people are used to that because we were told that's a respectful way to refer to someone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you tap somebody on the shoulder, you
Right.
can't see their face, their back is to you, tap their tap them on the shoulder, and you say, "Pardon me, I have a question for you." They turn around, and then you their pronoun. But what if this person, you tap them on their backs, like, oh, they're in scrubs, okay?
Right, and you cannot
This person's
tell.
in scrubs. We don't know what their position is, and you tap them on the shoulder, and you're like, oh, nurse. And they turn around. It's doctor, actually.
I've seen that before.
Oh, I love that.
That's pronouns. That's the use of pronouns with gender. You don't know who's on the other side. But if you go into it saying something,
right,
then you might get corrected. And there's nothing wrong with getting corrected because it's about respect.
But
right?
then
and we want to treat each other with respect.
Right. But then if I'm making that mistake, the other person should give me that opportunity to make a mistake. Okay, I misgendered you. It's not
There you go.
good. I'm just trying to come talk to you as a person. Sorry, I made a mistake, but it should not be something that which I was not brought up like that. So I'm not even aware of making that mistake. Do you understand? I'm not a
Correct.
criminal.
It is a
Right.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
person
Right.
react. How we react to each other is the point.
Wow.
Mm.
Your pronouns
And
is
it's
being
really, yeah. Sorry,
and a group of people that have decided that it's too much and that they're not willing to put in that kind of respect over someone's pronouns, but yet when we have an interaction with somebody who is in a, say, uniform,
Mm-hmm.
can't tell what their badge actually says, and you're like, officer, and they're like, oh no, I'm just security.
All right. So let me ask.
So
Yes, I agree. Let me ask Davey the same question. Your turn. Please go ahead.
Cool. So when it comes to gendering or misgendering someone, in my own experience, when it first started happening, it's like, just politely correct someone. It's like she, her, or ma'am. It's like, oh, it's actually he, him. Oh, okay, cool. The person who made the mistake, like if they just say sorry and move on, like I'm not going to hold that against them. But it's one of those things of like, if someone keeps doing it and keeps doing it, you'll tend to lose patience if you correct them over and over and they still make that mistake. What I've noticed with people who are early on in their transition, who are still figuring themselves out, or the younger generation, especially, if you misgender them, it's like it's over. They will yell at you. You are transphobic. You are a horrible person, and da da da. And the best you can do is just apologize, use their preferred pronouns, and if they want to continue being mad about it, let them be mad about it. Like, you've done all that you can do. If you're going to respect their pronouns, then awesome. Like, that's all that needs to be done. But I've noticed, even me, like, I've misgendered someone who looks female, sounds female, behaves female. I called them she, and they're like, it's he, him pronouns. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And they started biting my head off. I'm like, I'm actually trans. I just didn't know you as a person. And that's where it can get really confusing too, is a lot, and it's a lot of the younger generation too. I haven't met a lot of millennials or even Gen Xers that do this, but they outwardly don't act like, sound like, they don't try to behave as the gender that they identify, so it can be hard. It can be difficult.
That's a great point. My problem, I feel the same way. Like, if you do not yourself know which way you're leaning or gonna be identifying yourself and you're still exploring, how am I supposed to know?
That's a good point.
That same age group of individuals to fit into a cookie cutter status of either.
So I do have so that's a yes.
And just we need to let people explore, because a lot of those changes don't happen after puberty.
So
you're able to
from our side, I do have, and again, I will give everybody 3 minutes each or 2 minutes each to answer this.
Okay.
This is what's happening, and this is what is scary for us. what is happening is when we are enforcing these views at such a young age of 6 or 8, where they don't even know what these things mean in future in the life, and then on top of that, the gender affirming care and the surgeries, those will have really bad impact if they are not ready for it, and if they do not know what they're about to lose on. And that's why I had Davy today, because she made this choice at the right
He,
moment, I believe.
He,
I'm so sorry.
he.
I'm still because I talked to you,
all
I was
right,
and
listening
all
to that.
you're
right.
always gonna be that person to me. And she was. Oh, sorry, he was the
He.
coolest person I knew in that college. I was so close to him, I cannot even explain, because I did not talk to him all the time, but you know, I I was attached because he understood me.
Ooh,
Nobody else. I had a very different college experience than most of the people will. I think so. And
mm,
they understood me as a person, which was
Love
very
that.
different for me. It connected to me at a very different level than anything else, you know?
yeah,
So that's why he's special to me. And then that connection just it's like, even if I don't talk to you, you're still in my brain as that best friend who got me through really tough times, because I was just able to come and talk to you and hang out, and without any agenda there.
I love that.
totally.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
no, I
I'm
love being able to talk and make those friendships and help out. Like, yeah,
but my question is still, the big problem we have is with kids being groomed, and it is becoming
Okay.
too.
Hmm.
You're not being groomed.
But
Hold on.
that's what we are.
There are some people being
Hold on,
groomed.
hold on. Everybody will get 2 minutes to talk. Nobody talks over
Okay.
each, and then you get to address it. So, Erica, you go first.
All right.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I think that children are not being groomed to be transgender or gay or any of that. That's just not happening. Grooming, we can go into religious grooming, we can go into even political ideology grooming, we can even go into the grooming that forces women into patriarchal standpoints of where we're just supposed to be housewives. We have to have to be virginal until marriage, that kind of thing. That is grooming. Okay,
Okay.
people aren't grooming 6 and 8 year olds to be transgender or queer, okay, identifying it anyway. When you are that young, and I did know I liked girls as young as like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling family I did, and they told me it was always a phase. Even into my adulthood, it's still a phase
Oh,
to most of my family.
wow.
hmm oh yeah, oh, it's a phase.
Yeah, it never changed for me. I knew grew up with someone who I don't know. I'm hoping they're still alive, but I don't know if they transitioned or anything like that. But I grew up with someone whose birth name was Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
but never identified as a boy. And it was the first, I'm going to say, transgendered individual that I had known. And that was like in third grade. And it became an issue when one of the parents found out that the school was allowing Jeremy to wear dresses and go into the girls' bathroom. The parent freaked out, came in and assaulted our teacher in front of the entire class over a dress. When Jeremy wearing a dress never impacted any of the relationships up until that point in time.
Wow.
And then students being told by a couple of their parents that what was happening and that Jeremy was wrong and it was against this and it was against that, and Jeremy was eventually bullied out of the school because of parents and some of the students. It was not an issue for any of us until that one person made it an issue for all of us, and I had never seen somebody get assaulted before.
Wow. I'm
So
sorry
it was
you
like,
have a good.
right?
Right.
So, but I don't know if Jeremy's still alive, because of the kind of stigma and the way they were treated. That was just so not right. Nothing wrong with what was going on in our education, how anybody was interacting on the playground, until one person decided to enforce it on everyone else.
Thank you for that story. Wow. Okay, Joe, your turn.
Oh boy. I am sorry for the way that was handled. I also hope that Jeremy is still fine. I do have a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. I guess a lot of gay friends, and I treat them like any of my other friends. I hug them when they're down. I actually hug a lot of people when I see them, and it doesn't matter to me what.
Yeah, I love you.
which way they decide to go. But as far as grooming, there is grooming because you're teaching them about these things when they're 5, and then giving them operations when they're 5, and then they can never reverse that. They'll never have children of their own. And many of them can, become tomboys, and then they outgrow it. Many people do that. So I don't, I think it should not be allowed. You shouldn't be able to do surgery on a minor, especially the way they're doing it. They don't even have to tell the parents. This is the really weird thing, is that they can do these things without notifying the parents. Yeah, and the parents own the kids, not the schools.
No, California passed that law. It's in the news.
But it's after, so it's like 16 years old. We're not talking about a 8-year-old.
No, we've seen it as young as 5. We have seen it as young as 5.
So okay, so hold on. I understand both of you. I understand both of you, and this is where the divide is that I'm trying to solve. Because I agree with Joe, because I'm seeing those news articles. I don't know if it's real or not, but I am seeing those news articles, and I haven't had any personal experiences. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Are people actually seeing that? And to Erica's point, again, I haven't seen it. I'm not aware of a case where it has happened, but it is freaking gets out. So, Erica, that's what we need you to understand. We are not blaming anybody. We are just concerned. We are scared, and we don't know who to ask.
Can I ask? So we do know that. Okay, so I can't find. I am unaware of anybody getting gender confirming surgery and changed at the age of 5. Everything I've ever seen and know of anybody getting that kind of surgery is well into, like, say 15, 16 and up, and puberty is starting to go there. The only
still too young. But go ahead.
No. So, not to interrupt Erica or anything, but it's, to my understanding and from my research, it is illegal for any persons under 16 to have any sort of physical surgery like that, unless it is any sort of emergency. But gender affirming surgery like that, bottom surgery, top surgery, what have you, it's illegal if you're under 16. And if you're right, between the ages of 16 or 18, a parent does have to sign off. Like, so someone can't just walk in and be like, hey, I want this surgery. A parent does have to consent and sign for it.
Okay, so let me ask.
Go ahead, Kalki.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where I'm going is that there is something that we haven't even touched on, being an intersexed individual. Okay, and this is where people are starting to take any kind of quote unquote gender affirming surgery for intersex individuals. And this goes into somebody that I know by the name of Danny, who is an intersex individual who was actually born with, so they're closer to the terminology. Well, see, I don't like to use that word either, but they're intersex individual. They had surgery. They were never given the choice. First off, the surgery was done when they were an infant, because they were born with. The doctors assumed they thought were going to be ovaries were ovaries, but when Danny was 13, they buckled over in pain and almost died right in front of me. We called emergency services. I didn't find out until much later, because they were very embarrassed about what happened. Into adulthood, I thought like appendix or something, but later was told this is what happened. And so what happened was what was thought to be their ovaries were actually their testicles trying to descend out of their body at the age of 13.
Oh wow.
parents made the wrong choice. And the reason they weren't able to identify that choice 40 some odd years ago is when we didn't have enough science behind it to understand some of the hormonal and biological changes that happen with puberty. And when hormone levels and how hormone levels affect gender and gender change in utero. This is all new information because we have better science to understand the different types of gender. We have more than just boy, girl. We have intersex individuals that have a play in this, and gender affirming surgeries that are now being taken away from individuals like that as well, outside of being a person. So these laws are impacting a wider scope of gender that is not being discussed, that needs to be heard and understood. Because as soon as you start to understand a little bit more of intersex individuals, I think it opens up a little bit more understanding for those who might be wary of transgender individuals.
Right. And ain't this beautiful? Look, what out of all of this, all I have seen is 4 individuals who are very caring and concerning, and they understand what each other are saying. If you go with our narrative, what we are feeling, you agree with it, and you're educating us that that is not the reality, and we are getting manipulated. And the people, those who are getting is a different group which is not even included in this conversation. Like, what is happening to our world?
And that goes into a lot of issues now being politicized when it comes to individual health care, like women's rights. That has a play.
Yep, exactly. So we are well over our 1 hour mark. Over.
We are.
And we haven't even scratched any of the surfaces, and I had so many more questions, and I do not want to push it too far because the same reason I want to keep this show to the point where people can find it entertaining and educational. At the same time, doesn't go too far in time limit. It takes forever, right? I really love everything, every moment of today's talk. Let me be clear. I really, really love, and it has opened my eyes to so many things. And I will give each one of you 30 seconds to do your closing remarks, I will say, and then we will end the show. And I really, really hope I get to have both of you again, because, oh my God, I think this is going to be the new revolution. We start talking to each other again.
What an awesome thing.
So, okay, let's start with Joe.
All right. I wish we had more time because there were some things that I think on both sides that weren't clarified that I'd like to, but I'm really glad we do have this opportunity, and I look forward to talking to everybody again next week. And thank you, Kelky, for getting this thing rolling.
Well, you're my partner in crime, so I know for sure. Yeah. All right, Davey, go ahead.
Cool. So again, thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate being invited here and talking about my experience and my view on it, having really been part of both worlds and still physically changing as we speak. But I guess as a closing statement, regardless of how someone identifies, how they look, just love and respect everyone, or you don't even have to like them. You just got to tolerate it.
Wow. Awesome. Erica.
Just learn to listen. Everybody take time and learn to listen, and then ask questions appropriately to further yourself and your journeys. Anytime you want me on, I would love to continue talking about a myriad of issues. And then if you haven't seen any kind of drag and you want to learn a little bit more about drag, please _Weird Violet on Instagram and check out some of my videos there, and maybe learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Oh my God, my heart is full of love and happiness. I have wanted this forever to be able to just speak up. And there was so many political news I wanted to get to. I did not even get to. because you know what is important. I want to hear when I discuss the news. I want to hear all aspects of it, not just like what my side is saying or the other side
Right.
is. I want to hear what other people are feeling, those who do not have the same experience than I do. And I want to be educated so that I make more smart decisions. And this is the whole point of this show. This is Kalki Kara. Thank you so much for joining us today. And this is going to keep going. I think this is the revolution we needed, and it has begun.